All right. Hey guys, Sam back with you October 19th, middle of the afternoon. Got a couple more to look at where we can learn some things and just reiterate some of the methodology here in application. So hopefully you guys are starting to learn from this. Now I've got in front of me Dash. This is one we've looked at over the last few days, and we're here. It's been a little disappointing. We had been operating under the assumption that we had some sort of an impulsive one wave in play here. Now we've gone into this very long, complex correction here that I don't love because of the length of time. Relative, right? We always talk about proportion here, relative to the amount of time that was taken into this one wave. Now look, how much longer this two wave is. Now, doesn't mean it can't be a two wave because we can quantify it. So we can say, absolutely that we maintain an internal correction. Right, from our low to our high here, we are still internal to it. But we've got a bit of a mess here. And, of course, first thought is, well, if it's not clear, if it's not obvious, and it doesn't have the right proportion, why trade it? Which is a valid argument, right? It may just be that this is not tradable at the moment. This has been so precise. The technicals have been so good here that I'm sticking with it here. I do like the story long term, so I'm looking for opportunities to get long. If this is a two, well, it's certainly one of the longest ones I've seen. Now, we're here on a 1 hour. Now, if I condense this down to an 8 hour or a daily, it's not going to look so extreme. But the point of getting down to these smaller time levels is so we can fine tune our entries and look for the, as you'll hear me say over and over again, the high probability entries where we can be in, position ourselves for substantial reward with very modest risk. Now, we had been operating, you can see here from low to high, we came right to the 618, a few ticks shy of it. And we thought potentially that we had our low in here because it played. We had an A wave, as you can see, the B, and then we had potentially this 5-wave sequence to complete the C wave. Right? So now I've relabeled it because of this action over here. So the possibility was there that the C was in. This was our 1. We were coming down for a 2, and then we were off to the races. Well, that's not what we get. So you relabel. Now, what can we see here? Well, if this is not our C, then of course the potential is here that this is our 3. This has put in a 4 rather than a 1, and we now go down and complete a 5-wave sequence, trying to time our entry and tune our entry based on pattern, price, fib relationships. We're a little distorted on time proportion, but doesn't mean it can't still play. It's just taking its sweet time. So let me break this down a little bit more. If this is our 4, we're going down for a 5, and I've got some targets down here. I've got the pitchfork on it because it seems to be containing it rather nicely. We did not make the median line here, which is a bit of a red flag because not making the median line potentially offers the energy for this to blow to and through that outside line. So far that hasn't happened, but let's get down with a little more clarity as to what we're seeing here. So I know there's a lot on this chart, but let me see if I can help make sense. Well, here's the pivot that we've been working from, as potentially we thought it was the C. Turns out likely we've got a 3 here. So can we get 5 waves down here? If this is our 3, we get a nice, as you can see, we get a very, very clear, we can make this play as an A, B, and there's a C. Right? We don't overlap the wave 1. Here's the 50% of the move. Here's the 618. So we're right where you likely anticipate that we could find a wave 4, and then we start down. We get some sort of an impulse. There's the 2. Right now we're calling this a 3. We've come into a 4. Note where it goes, guys. Right, yet again. Look how perfect that is for a short. We go right between the 618 and the 65 for the, I don't know how many hundreds of times I've shown that to you, right to the Vegas wave, and now we're starting to drift lower. Now, does that mean that that's a hard pivot and that we're going down? Well, it doesn't guarantee it, but it certainly gives us the potential here for this to unfold as an ending diagonal. Diagonal because we've overlapped the 1. So if this is going to play down here, these are reasonable targets. first target here, here's the negative 23 off of the 2 to the 3 low, up to the 4, into the pocket, so thus the box, right? So I get my negative 23 here. I've got the longer term. Here's the 618 to the 65, right? So blown up, so you can see there's some range to it now. So I draw the box as a potential buy down here with that overlap, that tight overlap, really, the entries right here with that maybe front run by a tick or two for the 618 and the 23. Stop under the 65. So that's the entry we're hoping for if we get it. Now, we would look for a relationship to try and fine tune on that. We'd look for a relationship from the 1 wave to our 4 wave. So again, I'm just drawing I'm using the alternate price projection tool. 1 distance projected from what is currently labeled as the 4, right? So let me highlight it so you can see these are the lines down here. So the relationship we're looking for first is the 100%. All right, so if I expand my box now a little bit, so here's high probability zone for support to be found. Just in addition to what I just showed you in terms of fib relationships within this 5th wave structure, we have the long term. Here's the 61865 window. So we have a high probability zone down here to look for a potential 5th wave to complete, finishing a 2nd wave on a grander scale, on a larger time frame. Do you follow that? So we don't know that it's coming down here, but if we're waiting for the ideal entry for Dash and we want to fine tune it based on what we're seeing on these time frames, that's the sweet spot. That's where I'm looking to buy it. Now, nothing says that we have to go down here, and because we didn't get the median line here, that's a bit of a red flag to me. And I also didn't get the length here that I would have liked to have seen on the 3rd wave. So potential here. So I'm watching closely because I didn't get the median line. If this starts to go this direction here, well, then we've got to reconsider that we have potentially a more complex correction. I mean, we can say that this is still internal, right? So from our currently labeled swing low here at 3 in this box to this high, we are internal to this. So this could do this, right? So, but I'm waiting for this. I'm waiting for it. If I don't get it, well, then we reevaluate, we relabel, and we get new information, right? And then we just look for the next opportunity to find that kind of confluence of price, pattern, fib swing, relationships, structure, market geometry. Can I find a way in with a tight stop that clearly invalidates what I think I'm seeing? So this would be a great example here, because if I'm on the other side of that 65, then I know that likely I'm wrong. No reason to ride this all the way down here, even though that could be the case. There's the 786, right? Here's our 618. Here's the 786 of that entire move on the larger time frame. So it's still, let me go to the 4. So we're still within this internal 1 wave, and we know a 2 wave can go that deep. But why take all that heat? Why take that drawdown? Absolutely no need to do it. Even though this may still end up, we've got a good buy zone down here. We've got, look at this nice little overlap here. We've got the 786, the 2618, and the negative 1618. But if I'm not doing that, if I'm stopped out here, I want the small loser. If you're coming down here, all the better, because my target is still up here. I just want to look for an entry with a very tight stop to where if I'm right, I maintain that upside. Does that make sense? Right? So this absolutely can still play as a 1-2. Just complexity to it, and it's taking a lot longer than we would have liked. But welcome to trading. The market doesn't cooperate with you and what you'd like to see. The market is always working to get you to do the wrong thing at the right time. So, thus the maniacal focus on money management and risk control. Where can I? We never want to be in a trade. You can think of it this way. If you're uneasy when you go to bed at night about the size of the potential impact of your trade getting stopped out, you're taking too much risk. If you're anxious when you get up in the morning to go check the charts, you've got too much risk on. It should be like, it should be just kind of a casual, what's happened overnight. And if I'm stopped out, no problem. What do I have? I have more information. You can't get that vested into any one trade, because over the if you're going to do this over a long period of time, it's just another trade. Just be sure that you're not sitting in a trade that can hurt you. Right? You'll hear me say that over and over again, and I say that based on experience. I have had trades that kept me up at night, and that did hurt me. And almost always when you do that, when you know you've got too much size on and you're uneasy with it, you're ill at ease with it, and you're nervous about it, that is the one where the market will punish you. The market is very unforgiving. It does not, rarely does it forgive a mistake. Almost always will punish the mistake. And that's the lesson that the market is teaching you, not to do that. So hopefully you don't repeat those mistakes. I've made them, so I'm trying to help you not repeat the mistakes that I've made. Don't let any one trade hurt you. All right, let's move on, because I'm going long again. Okay, here's what have I got here? Here's Monero. Now, I am a long-term bull on this. I like their story fundamentally. I'm looking for an entry here. This is also a little bit, challenging here. We had this nice base of support that we've come down and, challenged, and we had good identification here for the pivot. We have a contender for a hard pivot here. And we did this the last couple of days. So let me take some of this off. So here's our 100%, right? We had that from A to B. What's the most common target for a C wave? 100%. We go to it within a couple of ticks. So we have a contender here as a potential swing low. It's deep, right? We're past the 786. We're deep here, but we're still internal to that swing. So that can still play as a hard pivot for our ABC low. What are we looking for? Well, if we're going to go into an impulse, if this is our 1 and possible 2 here, well, now we're looking for that impulsive structure. So what we're hoping to see here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put the wave on it. I know it's harder to see. So can we, it's not the prettiest one I've ever seen, but we've come down, if you'll note we've wicked just slightly through. Let me blow it up here. We've wicked. It's not the prettiest one, but I can carve a 1 out of there. It's a diagonal because we had the overlap. So we may have some sort of just butt ugly 1 there, but it plays. 1, 2, there's the 3, 4, 5. Now here's our A, B, C potentially. It's not pretty. But it's a contender, right? So how are we going to know? Well, first thing we need to do is we need to break out of this channel. We need some sort of pivot that we can work from here. We wicked through, but since that was, that's wicking action and it's immediately reacted, I'm going over here. It's not the prettiest one. So, when in doubt, when you're not sure, that's the one that you wait for more information. Because if this is going to, let me take it back out. If we're going to go up to a 3, I know within my 3, I'm going to get subdivision. So I'm not going to force it, right? I want this to go, but you could take the trade there, but we'll stop on the other side of the 6-5. It's not pretty, but there's nothing wrong with waiting for this, because if this is going to go, we're going to get this. And again, I'm freestyling, so scale is really not the point. But let me take it down a couple of degrees so you can get the idea. So if we're going to go, then we're going to get subdivision here into our 3rd, and there's going to be opportunity along the way. So I'd rather get more clarity on this being my 1, 2, starting a 3, knowing I'm going to get that subdivision. So this is, if you really want to get long and you love their story and you're looking for a time to get into it, you can be a buyer here. Stop under the 7.6. We know a 2 can go that deep. That's, this is a $90 crypto, so it's just a question of, is this where you want to allocate a portion of your capital? Do you like it that much? Well, that's not the prettiest one. And we certainly, we could go down again. This could easily be relabeled. We might end up with this being our 3, this being our 4. We could go down complete again for a 5, right? So we always have the possibility of relabeling this. Right now, this is just a potential roadmap, as you'll hear me say time and time again. It's just potential. So we want to get some confirmation. First confirmation, can we break out of this channel? Right? That's the first thing I'd look for. So that's kind of a wait and see unless you're just anxious to get long. That's not a terrible place to do it. Tight stop, right? So you're going to have to give that from, if you were here at 88.92 under the 786 is 86.97. Again, if you want to be long in Monero, that's not a bad place to do it. You've got you've got an absolute pivot here. If this is taken out, this is wrong. This gets relabeled as a 3. That becomes the 4. We go down for the 5. Right? And then you just wait for the next opportunity to wait for this if it's coming down here. Then you wait for that. And then you wait for your 50 or your 618 on the 2, knowing that this likely moves down here. Right? Do you see? It's just a process of where can I find my way in with a potential roadmap that gives me that good upside, low risk. Right? If we take out this, that's been long established as good support. If we're taking this out, then something else is going on. We're going much lower, and this is no longer a 1. Can't be, right? So we can't violate this low. So if you're a bull, this is your absolute, out right here. Can't be. We reevaluate and have to relabel it and say, okay, what's next? What's next? What I thought was happening is not happening, so I relabel or I sit it out until I get more information. Okay, well, how am I doing? There's 16 minutes. Okay, we're good. Now Ripple has been a big disappointment, but interestingly, we're getting a little bit of action here today. This is the day after the Swell conference. Clearly, whatever came out of that conference was the market didn't like it. A bit of an example here to show you. Now, this is much like Bitcoin. I refuse to call that a one wave because it's not a one wave. That you cannot get an impulsive structure out of that. So in terms of our impulse, here's where it starts, right? So this likely a truncated 5th because this is an ABC. We come down, we don't get the new low. But if you're you always have to consider the dominant pivots to pull from because you've got to consider where the algos are pulling from. They're just pulling fibs. They don't give a shit about the Elliott wave. We're trying to get in tune with what they're doing with regards to the internal and external retracements, right? So it's their action and where they're taking profit, where they're pulling swings from that give us the wave structure, right? It's internal, external, internal, external. That's what creates the wave structure. So as an Elliott purist, I will not call that a one wave. So here's the start of my impulse. But now look here. So we know that a 2 wave can go as deep as a 786. That's a really ugly move right there. So nothing would suggest that you've got the kind of subdivision into an ABC there that would play to give you confidence that you've got a good 2. That's just straight down. But here's my point. We know that the impulse starts there and we can go that deep, but I want to check back 1 as well. Now, if I go back 1, look where we end up. Right between the 618 and the 65. And we actually went through it by a couple of ticks. So potentially, because I'm checking the pivots, that could be what they're working from. So that's, if you're anxious to get long, which I would tell you it's way too soon. So why would I say that? Again, guys, it's the same thing over and over again. If we're going to go up impulsively, if we have a 2, we're going to get this. Right? So there's lots of upside here. I've even got the trade on there. So if you were just, you just determined to be bullish in Ripple, well, maybe you got that. Maybe we come back down here, visit this as a 2. So, if you want to be with, nibbling at the edge of it, trying to find a long, knowing that you'll have opportunity to add along the way, that's not unreasonable. Why would I not take that trade? Because I don't like the subdivision here in that. I don't get a nice ABC that I'm looking for. I'll wait until I get a good 1 wave, and I'll look for the 2. Right now, it's a roll of the dice. roll the dice. If you're anxious to get long, it's tradable. Stop is small. You've got huge upside. That's 8.5 to 1. But I'd look for more clarity because I'm going to take that off because we certainly could be seeing this. Right now, the likely candidate is we've just got an A wave. We put in a B, and then maybe the C goes down here, which would be, we could have the 786 down here. This, until proven otherwise, looks to me like the more likely roadmap because of this. Right? That's not a nice ABC like we like to see. So until that invalidates, and I see something else happening, where's likely resistance? You're just pulling fibs. Right to the 618, 65, right? That's just, I've done it so many times I can eyeball it. So until I know that I don't have that, I'm staying away. That's me anyway. Okay, I had a couple of things I wanted to show you over here. Some coins that are just beautifully technical. Now, one of the things that a lot of people will do, myself included, if you're looking for a trade. Well, of course, we're going to review the majors, and there's plenty of opportunity, but we've got several where it's just kind of a hurry up and wait right now to get more clarity. So if you're looking for a new position or a new coin, or you've got some capital that you want to put into the market and you're wondering where to put it, and you're comfortable going into the alts. Well, one of the things that a lot of people will do is come over here to your crypto market and start looking for action. I guess you could say. So first thing I'll look for is the trading volume, because the methodology that I'm teaching you guys requires a lot of volume. So I want to see and of course Bitcoin is almost always going to have the most volume. But who else has got a lot of volume today? And if they have some volume, who's up? Who's up today? Now when I see something like this, and I know nothing about that coin, clearly that's too far, right? So I'm not going to touch that. But I look down here, one that, the Zen Cash, I don't know a lot about them, although I've been seeing them come up a little bit more. But one that we have been, there are a couple that we looked at that I know is moving beautifully. One is Vertcoin, and if you go back a few, I don't know, a week or two, we were looking at this because of the good technicals. This is, good volume, right? Where am I here? So 8.5 million tokens traded. We're up 22%. If I go over here, I want to check it against Bitcoin as well, and maybe look at performance. All right, do I have anything? So if I look, who's up? These are other ways. Here's Vertcoin here. So this is. Even against Bitcoin, we're getting, huge gains, up 20% today, lots of volume. Yeah, I want to go look at that, right? So we've, as I did last time, here's another one I was looking at. So we would go over to CoinGecko, see where Vertcoin ranks on the scale. We did this once, but I'll do it again. 58. So we've got, on their metric scale, and if you haven't been there yet, that's always a good place to go check if you're going into a coin that you're unfamiliar with here. So we can go over here and look. So I encourage you to always look for coins with a ranking of 50 or higher. And you dig in a little bit about what's going on with this coin. Here's what it is. Here's their Twitter feed. You can see how active they are, what the development dialogue looks like, Twitter following. This is a good resource if you're looking at a coin that you've not traded before. 87 million in market cap. This is a major crypto. So let's go over here and look at it. Now, I've got it here against the dollar and against Bitcoin, and it's just beautifully technical. So here you can see the breakdown here. This should be something that's starting to make sense to you. Now, I drew this box yesterday off of this beautiful wave structure here. This was not hard to do, but I'm going to recreate it for you here so you can get the idea. So first thing is, well, I've got three great pivots here to work from. So first thing I'm going to do is put the pitchfork on it and see how that's contained the market. So, right to the edge. And so drawing the box right at the median line, just made a lot of sense. So I start looking at fib relationships here. So I get a 1. Here's a good example of a 2 that goes deep, right? So we just barely, we stay internal. We go through the 786, but we end up putting in a 2 down here. And then we get, just as I've drawn for you on those on the examples that we just came through, what are we looking for? We get that 1, 2, and then we go into a 3. So we get exactly what we're waiting for in Ripple and Monero, some of the other coins that we just went through, looking for that action, because then we can start to quantify it. So I'm gonna take this off just to show you how I got this. Okay, so you can see the labeling here. So we get a 1, 2, 3 goes in. So here's the negative 23, right, of this pull, right? Even though we go deep here, we get to the fib target. We stall, we come up around the median line, then we retrace. So let's, of course, first thing we're going to do is check the relationship between the 2 and the 4. Right a few ticks before the 50. Then we start going up. There's the negative 23 of that pull. Hits it, reaction, keeps going. Now there's the negative 61.8 where we sit right now. Okay, now in addition to that, in addition to the median line, to the negative 618, which we know is an extreme from this pull, we get the 100%, which is an extreme, from the absolute pull low here from 1 to 2. So I start drawing a box. I get a confluence. I start getting confidence in this. So now I look at it and go, well, I've got other subdivision here that I can look at. So this breaks. So if I'm expecting a 3-4, I'm looking for subdivision into the 5 to complete the larger 3. All right. So at this point, it looks to me like this has to go up here because we haven't completed yet. So let me change the color here to separate these two. Okay. So here's our 3, 4. We've gone to targets here, but then we get subdivision here. So I'm going to do the same thing. So here's my 1 low. Pardon me, the 4 low, which becomes the low of my first 1 wave. We go deep. We go, we wick back just as we did back here. We go, a 2 can go to the 786, but then we absolutely launch. So then from there, so here's the first target on that one. There's there's the negative 23, negative 618, negative 100, negative 1618. Look at this little wick here. So we get a great little box here. Great little box here with the negative 618 and the 1618. That's just the kind of overlap, but we're not to the median line. We're not there yet. So, when it doesn't make the median line, that sets up the potential for this to start to fail. And often you get a violent reaction. Algos want the median line. They want the median line. They're going to push to get it. Now look, within my third, I get subdivision. So I get a nice 1, 2, 3, 4 coming up for the 5. Now, nothing says this has to stop here. This could stall at the median line and just keep ripping. But I've got a nice cluster here to say potentially I've got a resistance zone here. So if that's the case, what are we waiting for? We're waiting for the 4, and wouldn't it be nice if it just came in right at the edge of the pitchfork? So we're going to draw. So I'm going to take some of this off since we've got our box there, just to declutter the chart. Here's our last one. So now we strip it down and we go, okay, well, here's my 2. Potentially there's my 3. Here's my 4 over here at the edge. What am I looking for? Well, then I just go to the absolute basics. Well, here's my 3 high. Here's my most likely target for my 4. Put that in green as a buy. Most likely target for my 4 right here. Wouldn't that be nice if it just came to the median line? Because if it comes to the median line, and we get support there, next target is the median line again. If we're going to go from median line to outside edge to median line to outside edge, median line. Now, can we put some additional structure on this? Let's go to the alternate tool. Okay, well, here's my 1, 2, right? We went a little hot here, so we get a little extra extension to that. So if I look up above, I got some upside targets here. That's the 2618, so I'm already to and through on that, so I got to go bigger. Well, if I'm going to come down here, I've got this, and then I've got the negative 100 up here. And then I would, of course, look for dominant swings. Okay, I start to get a cluster up here. So I'm taking the length of 1, projecting from 4. Now take note what happens here. What's the most common relationship? 100%. Do you see this start to overlap right where we had the box previously? Again, adding confluence to that is a likely resistance zone. Then I've got the negative 23. The 1272, that's the square root of 1618, so that's one we want to pay attention to. Then I get another cluster up here. So we just start drawing boxes as potential targets. So now that's perfect setup for that chart. You know, I can declutter it because I've already drawn these boxes. So I know the market is responding technically. So my expectation is that continues. I know I've got algo activity. My expectation is that that continues until proven otherwise. I might pull this over. So I've got a big target up here. So what are we waiting for? We wait for this, because this has been trading perfectly. Perfect, just beautiful technical trading. And you can see a very clear count. And as I will often tell you, when Elliott really, when you can ring the register, is when it's just this clear and this perfectly subdivided. When you're in the mess of some of the things that we were looking at before, why fuss with it? Unless you are determined to be in that crypto, look for coins that are just where you have this crystal clear subdivision where you don't have to wonder as to what you're seeing. We know we've got a 1, 2, 3 in, right? We know that. We know we've got a 1, 2, 3, 4. This is just when you get this, you've got the roadmap. You've got the roadmap, and you trade it and leverage it until it breaks, right? So of course, leveraging doesn't mean you increase the risk. You don't do that, right? At the absolute, if you wanted to give it the maximum amount of room, you do that. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't. I'd want to, I'd be looking for that. That's as much risk as I'd give that. I want to be long at the 38, depending on how we get here, because I want to see this. Given how nicely this is subdivided, I want to see this. No reason to think that's not going to do that. If I get that, I would be aggressive there, but with a tight stop. Right? Because I think the roadmap is so good, no reason to take undue risk. Because if I'm stopped out a little bit, it's going to go a little bit deeper. Okay, I can live with that. Look, we get the 3 high here in the 618 within a couple of dollars. Wait for them. Wait for them. So, being out of the market is a reasonable place to be. If you don't see something that sets up just the way you like it, you wait for it. All right, how am I doing on time? Damn, it's 31. Okay, let me go over to one other. This is one, just a good lesson here. This is Syscoin. Now, this is one that just has kind of been on my radar lately. Well, okay, so here's another very similar action to what we were just looking at in Vertcoin. So here we get the nice 1, 2. We go up, we hit the median line. Now we've gone deep outside here. Now this is a little trick here that I'll show you what I did here. So I've got here's my standard pitchfork. Okay, so I've added here's the 100%, here's the 1.5, here's the 2. Now we've gone outside of that. But because these pivots have contained this so nicely, and we got this nice target here, I want to keep it on there because I maintain that median line as a target up here. Now we went to the 61865 box, and we actually went through by a little bit. But here's our Vegas wave lined up nicely. Here's our wave 1 high. Here's our other wave 1 high, and this does not overlap. So I'm willing to give that a little bit more room as a contender for a good fourth because I don't overlap the 1. So what I think I've got here is a 1, 2, 3. A deep 4, but look why I like this. Okay, let me open it up. So if we're looking for a 4, we're looking for a corrective subdivision. So we can see very nicely here, if I can get that. We can get a very nice A, B into a C. Into a C. Okay, now when I look at that, so of course I want to look at that subdivision. So I'm going to pull my A, I'm going to project from my B, and do you see this here? I'm going to wiggle it. Do you see that 618? So you can see that lines up perfectly with that little pocket. So now I'm starting to get some confluence. Now I've got my Vegas wave, I got the 618, I've got the 618 from the A to ABC projection. And then notice here, if I'm going to get a C wave, I want to see good subdivision within that. And I get a 5 wave ending ending diagonal. So if I blow it up, let me go down to a 15 minutes so you can see this. So that's exactly what I'm looking for. Now, ideally, it goes to the 100%, but doesn't make it. And since I've got this good support here, and we don't wick the wave one high here with this yellow line, I like the fact that I get this subdivision here, so I can carve out a 5-wave diagonal. Why diagonal? Because the one wave gets overlapped by the third wave, or excuse me, by the fourth wave. So I get this, telling me, it'd be smaller degree, telling me that I've got a good contender for a completed A wave, AB, into a 5-wave C, so I get nice subdivision in my A wave. I get an A, B, C into my B wave. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, ending diagonal. I'd put a channel on that. Yeah. There's my little 5th channel. We break. So what am I waiting for? So if that break is good, and I've got my low in here for a 4 low, well, again, it's the same thing. So now contender 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put the wave on it. Do you see it? So potentially that's my 1. I wait for the 2. But given this good subdivision, I want to see a nice little ABC into my 2. I don't want to just take the first rip down, because look how nicely this is subdivided along the way. I'm expecting that now. It's given it to me on every other swing. No reason for that to stop now. But I also know that this has gone deep on some of these 2s. Right? We looked at that. It's gone through the 7, 8, 6. So I want to allow for some depth here. Again, just because that's what the market's been doing. So I can sit here and just wait. And wait and wait. I think I've got a good pivot here. I think I may have a 1, or at least the start of a 1. Now I wait for that subdivision. It's not unusual for a channel like this to get revisited from the backside, from the other side. Come back down, tap it. So if we've got a 1 in, and I don't know that we do, but if this is a good pivot, there's a reasonable place for it. So here's the 50 to the 618, first contender. I want to see a little bit more subdivision there, but I'm definitely drawing the box there, knowing that this could go lower, knowing that this has, given the recent history, has gone deep on these 2s. So if I get that subdivision, I'm alarmed. I'm alarming here. I want to know when it gets to the 50. I want to see what that looks like. I want to know when it gets to the 618. Can I get any kind of subdivision? I don't want to go below a 15-minute, and I would advise you guys not to do that. You get too much noise. But if I will do it, but I don't want to make a habit of that or set the example. Stay with the 15-minute. That's enough subdivision. So we've had a little move down here that wicked the 50, but that's not good enough. Not good enough for me. But it's absolutely one I want to be watching. All right, there's 37 minutes. I've gone long again, guys. Okay, I'm going to wrap it there, but hopefully there's some things that you can learn there, and you start applying this to your own charts. And if you have something in particular that you're confused by, shoot me an email or drop me a note, and we'll see if we can take a look at it. Okay, per the suggestion of one of my subscribers, I've put a little tip jar down below. If you're getting value out of these, feel free to drop a little crypto in there that allows me to continue to keep these free for all. Okay, guys, that's it for today. See you later.